Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome to Terror by the Pines. I am your lovely host, Jason, for this channel. And to celebrate my birth month, I figured I would participate in the hashtag called Decks for Decades. So if you're interested in seeing what that entails, stay tuned. So this hashtag Decks for Decades has been around um, for a few years. I found out through this hashtag through Dawn Michelle over at Boho Tarot, which she did it this year, but it originated from Jessica Starr back in 2018. So I'll definitely link those two videos in the description box. So basically, the hashtag has you pick out deck or decks through which correspond with that decade in your life. So the first one is childhood, and I automatically thought of the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck. This deck combines everything I love into one. So essentially, I love Halloween. I enjoy Christmas. I love spooky stuff, and I love animated movies. Um, when my mom was pregnant with me, she told me she had a really deep craving for watching horror movies. So when she did, she would just watch all of those VHS tapes and all of that. I was born in the 80s, so of course the 80s had like these slasher movies come out, like Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare Before Christmas, Nightmare on Elm Street, all of those really iconic horror movies. So her craving of horror movies has, I guess, been led down to me, as I really love scary movies. And with this tarot deck, whenever I work with it, that sense of childhood um, memories would come back. It's spooky, it's a little creepy, but it's playful, and that's what I really like about this deck. The cardstock is matte. It's that buttery, smooth finish. It's on a little bit on the thin side, but it shuffles really well. But for childhood, the Nightmare Before Christmas tarot deck is the deck that reminds me of my childhood years. So the next decade would be teenage years, and I had to pick the Everyday Witch Tarot simply because when you're a teenager, or well, maybe, I guess everyone else, you really don't think about what's really going on in the world. You're pretty much in your own, world, la la la, going around, just thinking nothing really can happen to you. You're just in your own little bubble. You don't have bills to pay, so you're not really thinking about your future. So the Everyday Witch Tarot is this whimsical fantasy world where, it's playful still, and it's a little bit mature, but still you're not, thinking about the future and, paying bills and all of that. So the Everyday Witch Tarot is obviously my ride or die. If you know me from my channel or my Instagram, this is my go-to. It's a lovely deck. The cardstock is that Llewellyn cardstock that some may hate, but I really enjoy. Shuffles like a dream, and it's just a very fantastical, whimsical deck that is just so playful, but it's a little bit on the serious side. Pretty much like a teenager. Like you have, you're still in a bubble, but you're going through, all the grade school drama, maybe into high school. It's still playful, but it's like getting you prepared for the real world, even though you're not really acknowledging it or paying attention to it. The other deck I was going to show you for the teenage years is going to be the Spacious Tarot. Even though this is a new deck in my collection, I thought this would be perfect because in my teenage years, I was going through, I guess, a transformative phase where I was really coming into my own. I was, coming to terms with my own sexuality, and just, at the very end of my teenage years, I was, reality was hitting in my face. I started paying bills, and I was, struggling with my own personal problems as well as family problems. So with the Spacious Tarot, it literally puts you into a different world, but it has so much space in it, so you literally can put yourself in it, and just your intuitiveness will just pretty much fly. And that's what I really like about these cards. Even though the images are like striking, it's very simplistic, but you can read off of that so much. The next one, or the next decade rather, is the 20s. And I chose the Golden Girls Tarot. I was originally going to put this in my childhood decade because when I was little, I would watch this show with my grandmother, and I would just remember watching it with her as we, sip our coffee and just, just have like all these laughs. And, as a kid, all of the themes in this show it just flies over your head. So when I reached in my 20s, I came back to this show and realized how progressive this show is, how still relevant it is. And I just have learned so much from this show, and I still watch the show pretty much on the daily. And so nothing really has changed from my childhood to now, but I definitely wanted to do this for my 20s because this show tackles so many themes. It tackles homosexuality, racism, ageism, and so many more that was so, I guess, taboo back in the 80s and early 90s. So I really find that this deck really encompasses my 20 decade, because it's as you mature from a teenager to, I guess, a young adult, you really pick up on stuff that you didn't see while you were, in your own fantasy world. And so the Golden Girls definitely helps along with my decade of my 20s. So the next decade is 30s, and I am currently in my 30s now. So this one was also not a hard choice to pick. I picked the Santa Muerte Tarot, and I chose this deck simply because this is a deck that is all about celebrating one's life. I have been dealing with some health issues, maybe for the past year and a half, and this deck is all about, you have one life to live it, live to the fullest, and just really enjoy life, celebrate life, and just hold on to those people that are dear to you, and just really live your one life, because you only get one. And this deck is a Los Scarabero deck, so the cardstock is really nice, a little glossy, but it's totally fine. Shuffles like a dream. It's just a really striking, bold deck that's fun to work with around spooky season, and it really captivates my 30s so far. I'm very young in my 30s, but this year and a half of being dealing with health issues really puts things into perspective, and this deck definitely puts life in perspective. Don't take your life for granted. and just don't take others for granted. So these were my picks for the hashtag Decks for Decades. This hashtag has been around a while, so if you see this video and you haven't done it, I encourage you to participate as well, as I would love to see this. This was really fun to do because I was going back through, I guess, all of my years on this earth so far, and it was just really fun. And of course, I will put Dawn Michelle's and Jessica Starr's video in the description box below so you can watch those. Again, thank you so much for watching this video, and in the meantime, I will see you for Tarot by the Pines.